G'day, I'm Richard from Pleasureway Industries, and today we're going to be showing the general winterizing of your Pleasureway unit. Today we're going to be actually working on a Plateau TS, a 2022 version that we pulled out of production in order to show you this, but the general principles will be the same for most Pleasureway units, with some location differences for where the pump and where the bypass valves are. So, question most people have come up with is, why do we winterize our unit? Now, the main reason is we need to get the water out of the system. There are certain valves, such as the toilet or the kitchen sink, that are so small that all it takes is a drop of water to break those if the water has not been removed when it starts freezing. So that's the main reason we do it. It's pretty basic though, so let's get started. The first thing we want to talk about is what we're going to need for this. So the first thing I suggest is a couple of jugs of RV Antifreeze. It's the pink product. It's a non-toxic, biodegradable product. And so if it gets on the ground, it's not going to hurt anything. And then the second thing we're going to need is a siphon hose. It's just got a 1/2-inch fitting on it that will connect onto the suction side of our pump. And then this goes into the antifreeze to draw it onto our system. So the first thing we start with winterizing is we want to start getting the water out of the system. So we need to empty the freshwater tank, we need to empty the water heater, and normally we would have drained the black and the gray tank at a dumping station as well. So we'll start by draining the fresh tank, since it's right here by the entry door, and we'll show you how that works. Just underneath the edge here, little valve, and we give it a 1/4 turn. And like I said, the water will just pour it onto the ground. You just let it drain. Watch your tank monitor to make sure it gets all the way done. So here we are at a monitor system. Of course, here we'll show that our water tank is emptying. We'll see that our other tanks need to be drained, and we'll show you that in a second. The other thing we want to make sure right at the beginning is that our water pump is off. Make sure that's off so that we can release the pressure on the system in order to drain our water heater. Okay, so now we're on the driver's side here. As I said, our black and our gray tanks are full. Here we've got them full of fresh water, so we're going to be able to just drain them into my floor drain here. Like I said, but at a dumping station, you'd usually come in, of course, pull your black tank first. Then, of course, once that's drained, like I said, you can watch your monitor. Then you pull your gray tank, and they'll all drain out. Then once you're done that, what I usually recommend is either getting a rinsing wand to go down your toilet to help clean out your tank, or even just use your shower in your bathroom if you've got water in your fresh tank still, and use it to help rinse out your black tank. That'll make it last longer and keep it clean for when you need to use it again in the spring. All right, so the next thing we're going to drain is our water heater. And so we got our water heater here. Just turn the little thing. The lid just pops down like so. Now we're going to open this up. Now, like I said, we had the pump on, so this is under pressure. So we're going to start by opening the PT valve here at the top. Just slowly pull it open. And that'll release the pressure. And now we can just push up on this little black knob, and the yellow lever will come down and pull out the filter. And the tank will drain out. It's about 1.5 liters of water. Okay, so now we just close those valves back up. I like to leave this actually not caught. That way we make sure that it's drained. And we put our filter inside the unit for the winter so that we don't lose it and we have it for spring when we need it. We can now close this up. And now we can go back inside and we can bypass the water heater. Okay, so below our hall closet is our access for our water heater bypass. So we're just going to take out these 4 screws, remove the cover, and then we'll show you how to bypass the water heater. Okay, so now we're inside the compartment behind the water heater. We're going to start at the bottom here. Right in the bottom, there's a valve here connected to the blue lines. This is the cold water into the tank, so we're going to shut that off. Now that won't allow any antifreeze when we start flowing into the tank from the bottom. In the middle here, between the red and the blue, we have the bypass. We're going to open that up. That'll allow the antifreeze to flow up this line and out to our hot lines so that we can get antifreeze into the hot lines. But we don't want water going into the water heater from the hot line, so we'll shut off the hot line out of the hot water heater as well. And then in behind here, there's a white line that is for the recirculating line. Again, we want to shut it off so that none of the antifreeze gets into the tank through that as well. So now when we hook up the antifreeze, it's going to go out the cold lines, and now it'll come up to that first valve on the water heater, come up through the bypass, and then come back out through the hot lines to allow antifreeze to flow through both sides of the lines in the unit. Okay, now that we've bypassed the water heater, now we can put this cover back on and close it up because we're done with the back of the water heater. And that's sealed up. Okay, so now we're going to connect the siphon line to the pump. In this unit, it's below the bottom drawer in the kitchen. Each unit has a little bit different place, so check your manual to see where yours is located. Okay, so pull the drawer out. There's a couple little tabs underneath. So these little orange tabs, we just give them a pull to release it. Then we move the drawer out of the way. Okay, so the line we're going to connect to is on this side of the pump where the filter is. Like I said, every unit has that filter on it. So now we just undo this side of the pump. You may want a rag for when you're doing this because a little bit of water will backflow. Then I hook up our suction line. Make sure that's nice and snug. So now we get to our jug of antifreeze and we open up the top, take our siphon line and stick it in a jug of antifreeze. So now we go to our pump and we turn it on and we start pumping the antifreeze through our system. Okay, so the first appliance I'm going to start with is the toilet. Now the reason I start with the toilet is because it's the largest draw of antifreeze in the system. Like I said, it pulls the fastest from the jug. Sometimes it takes a little bit for the siphon to start on the jug. The toilet always makes it easier to get that started. Okay. So now you just run until you've got the pink in there. Like I said, that's all it takes to do the toilet. So now we'll move to the sink. So now I'll start with the hot tap. And as soon as you see the pink flowing, then I've opened the shower and let a little antifreeze flow through the shower tap. Put that back up. And then I do the cold line and run it until I got pink flowing. And then that's it. As long as you've got pink flowing through there, all your lines are full of antifreeze at this point here. So as you're adding antifreeze through your system, like I said, you're filling up your P-traps with antifreeze, which is a necessary step. Like I said, the one P-trap that we miss because of that is the shower. So like I said, we always want to make sure we grab our jug of antifreeze and add about a cup or so of antifreeze down the drain here. And then again, once we're done, just make sure you come back and clean up the antifreeze in the pan. So now let's move to the kitchen. Okay, so now we're at the kitchen sink. So I'm going to pull the sprayer out so that I can just put it straight into the drain. I'm going to go over and do the cold side first. Just pull it on until I see pink flowing. And then I'll switch it over to the hot side and let it flow. That way I can make sure that each line is getting the pink flowing as I go. Like I said, so I just keep letting it run until I see the antifreeze start bubbling up in there, like so. That kitchen is done. We've got antifreeze through both lines there. So now we've emptied our first jug, so I'm going to switch my line over. Now, in my case, I like to do this while the pump is still running. You can hear it running in the background there. It's trying to siphon, but there's still a little bit of air in the line. This will allow us to go and do the city water outside without adding any pressure to that line. Okay, so now we're on the outside where the city water is and the outside shower. So we'll open up the outside shower, bring out the hose, set it up here, and then we'll pop the cap off the city water, take out the little filter. So now before we push that little check valve, we're going to release a little bit more pressure. So we're going to open the hot tap and then push the valve here, and you'll see the antifreeze start flowing out here. Once you see pink out of there, that's done. Now we'll let the hot tap run until we've got a good flow of pink from there. And then we'll shut that off. Open the cold tap. Again, let it run a little bit until we know we've got pink flowing. And then both these are now winterized as well. Now that we've got this winterized, we want to make sure that we do not forget to put our little filter back in there and then put the cover on to keep any dirt and dust out of there. Okay, your unit may have, instead of an outside shower, have a spray port, which will also include a garden hose like this that connects to it. You always want to make sure when you're winterizing to hook this up, run the antifreeze through it, and then also you can use this to lower the pressure when you're running the antifreeze out of your city water connection. Okay, so this is a production unit, so we're missing our running boards, but we're gonna go underneath here and show you where the low points are on this unit. On your unit, it may be slightly different, maybe farther back or a little bit farther forward, but in general purpose, they're on this side, just under the running boards on the driver's side here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go under, we're gonna open up hot tap first. It's a red line, like I said, until we see some pink coming out, close it up. Open the blue line until we have some pink coming out, close it up. Open the white line, let it run until all the water's out, a little bit of pink's coming up, and then we can shut it off. Now, once we're done, like I said, we've removed all the pressure and shut all the siphon and stuff down. Then and the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna come back out, open that white line and leave it open. Like I said, that's the recirculating line to the water heater. And what that'll do is allow, if there's any water still in that recirculating line that the antifreeze couldn't quite reach, it'll have somewhere to expand out through that valve on the bottom and won't affect any of your lines at that point. All right, let's get under there. We've got, of course, the blue, the red, and the white starting on the far left-hand side here. They said we're just going to start with the left. It doesn't make a difference which one, blue or red first. Just give it a quarter turn until we've got some pink flowing through there. It's fairly quick. And then the same with the red line. And then the big one is the white one. We want to run that one just a little bit longer until we see some pink flowing through it. There we go. They said sometimes it takes a couple tries to make sure that we've got enough antifreeze flowing through it. And then we're set here. We can go back inside and disconnect our siphon line and clean everything up. Okay, so now we've got antifreeze through our entire system. We're finished with the antifreeze. So now what we want to do is empty out our siphon line so that we can disconnect it, reconnect everything, and clean up our unit here. So what I'm going to do is just pull our antifreeze line up here, get as much of the antifreeze back into the jug that's in the line. And then I'll just lift up my hose here up into the air, and you'll see there's still a fair amount of antifreeze in there. So now I'll come over and I flush the toilet while it's still under pressure, and it'll suck the last of the antifreeze down my line. And then I turn off my pump and just let the excess antifreeze in the toilet drain down. And there we go. So now we're going to remove our suction line. I like to get a cloth and just stick it under there in case there's any extra drippings, and clean up anything from when we took off the siphon line for the fresh tank. Unscrew that, and then put our fresh tank line back on. Just make sure we don't turn on our pump now, because if there's any residual water in the fresh tank, now it will flow through the pump and out into these lines here as well. So we want to make sure that that stays off now until spring. All right, we'll clean that up, and then we put the drawer back in, and we're set here. Then we just clean up our sinks. Okay, last couple things. Of course, we mentioned before, we want to get under here and open our white line. And like I said, just a last little bit of antifreeze. And like I said, now that line's open, so if there is any water in there, it has somewhere to expand to. Now, as we've winterized this unit, of course, we've displaced the water and it's gone into the black and the gray tank. There won't be a lot, but there'll be a little bit. So we suggest now opening up your black and your gray lines. Like I said, if you've got a bucket, you can do it that way, or you can just let it run out if your lines are nice and clean. And that way we can get the last of that little water out of there, just to keep that water that would have been sitting against your gate valves from freezing and cracking your gate valves. Like I said, we want to get that away and get it out of your unit. So once your water's done, then we just close up our gate valves. Like I said, and then make sure we put our sewer cap on for the winter, and we're set to go. Okay, so now we should be done our winterizing. As we've run our lines, we've filled all our P-traps, and then we did our shower. We make sure we reconnected our siphon line to our pump, so we make sure we don't turn our pump on because we may pull residual water from the fresh tank in there. We want to make sure we leave the drain for the fresh tank open. That way, when you're moving the unit, like I said, that excess water has somewhere to go as well. And we want to make sure that we've left our recirculating line, low point, the white line on the other side, open as well. So we have any excess water there, it has somewhere to go as well. So that should do it for the unit. The other thing you want to make sure is go in and clean up in your sinks and shower pans. Make sure you get that excess antifreeze out. It is a pink product, and if you've got white shower pans or white sinks and toilet, like I said, it can leave a bit of a ring. So make sure you clean that up as well when you're done. So remember to check your manual for your specific unit, like I said, so that you know where your pump and bypass valves and stuff are located on your specific unit. Make sure you complete all these steps on your unit. And then if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call your local dealer or to call the Pleasure Way helpline.